Hi everyone, today I want to talk to you about something that professional athletes use to perform at the highest level that you can use as an entrepreneur to both be more productive and help your team be more productive. This concept is called periodization. Periodization is the idea of changing the volume of work and intensity over time. Because of course, as an entrepreneur and you want to grow your business as fast as possible, so you ask of yourself and of your team to work as much as possible, as often as possible. And that's normal. But you need to understand something. This is an endurance game. So if you push too much for too long, you will burn out, your equipe will burn out. Or if they are not burning out, what happens is when you are pushing constraint on the system tends to adapt. And so people tend to become not necessarily purposefully, but on a subconscious level, they kind of drop their baseline of productivity to be able to sustain the long run. And so the idea of periodization is simply by just dropping the intensity and the volume every now and then, you allow people to recharge and to crush it, to be able to perform at the highest level. Because what you don't want is having them systematically work less because they cannot handle the long run. So the idea is there is multiple aspects, but let's take, for instance, what a professional athlete called it a mesocycle, which is mainly a month-by-month basis, but cycle are also microcycle, which is about an entire year. And generally in business, we are talking about quarters. So the idea is you have, let's start with quarters. So you have Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. The idea is for each of those, those create one cycle. So how one cycle works? For one quarter, you have, so a quarter is basically four months. You have months 1, months 2, months 3, months 4. The idea is simple. The last one is the one where where what is called deload. A deload is where you relieve pressure, and that there is a lot of different things that you can do, and we are going to talk about it. But this is deload here. Then the first week is kind of you are beginning at moderate intensity. This is business as usual, let's say. Here, then you go to high intensity. So you start stressing people, bracing people, you're demanding more of them, more of yourself. This is tense, this is high intensity, but that's okay, that's something okay. People can manage. And then on the last week, this is very high intensity. So on the very last week, on the third, this is months, because on that work exactly like this on month-by-month basis. 3 weeks, weeks 1, weeks 2, weeks 3, then weeks 4, the deload, and that work relatively the same. So the idea is, on this here, you want to push people to the limit, to the breaking point. Really, and this is going to allow you to do a lot of different things. First of all, to see what breaks, because a lot of time, when we don't push system to their limit, we don't really see the inefficiency. And by pushing sometimes the system to its limit, demanding the highest of your people, you can expect to find what works, what doesn't, and what can be improved. And the idea is, people generally, they want this all the time. This all the time. But that cannot happen. That cannot happen over a very long period of time. This might happen over a year, but people will burn out. And generally, to be able to sustain this level of effort over years and years, people will generally end up to this level of intensity. And so you see that here, maybe we are a little lower, but we are compensating here by having 2 higher weeks in terms of intensity. And so when you take the average of all of this is much higher than the level if we were doing things like without the deload. Because if, for instance, you have yes, the moderate intensity is kind of here. So that's the baseline of what people are. If you are not introducing this concept of periodization inside your workflow, inside how much you are demanding of your people and yourself, this is pretty much where you are going to be. So first week 1, or month 1, whatever, you are here. That's okay. Then month 2, very high. So we are then at this point, and we are high, sorry, and then very high, and then you have the deload, which go really, really low. You still work, but that kind of really low. And what happened is you realize that the average of all of that is more or less slightly higher. So if the idea is that is by doing so, first of all, you allow people to recover more. Then, because they know that there is weeks that are going to be intense, they are bracing, they are making sure they can get much done, and so on. But where it got extremely interesting is the level of output is exponentially more important with very high intensity rather than moderate intensity. Even though it's here, this is more the energy or maybe stress level, if you want, and that is time. But the truth is, when you're taking consideration the actual output, moderate, so we have moderate here, we have high and very high. The output actually goes like this. Not that much, but you get the ideas. The more you pressure people, the more output they can actually deliver. But there is a caveat to this, and that's why that's not something that is sustainable over the long term. To be able to do that, you need to have clear idea and be very clear on actually what you are doing and what you want to accomplish. So that's why having this deload phase and moderate phase allow people to first recover from this high intensity phase. Those two, the high intensity and very high intensity phase, are actually a focus on outputs, massive amount of outputs, where here it's more thinking and planning ahead, deciding, okay, and clarifying the idea. So when you are arriving towards those period, you can actually deliver tremendously. That kind of the idea. You allow yourself to recover, to think about what you have done, what needs to be done better, and so on. And next time you arrive on those 2 weeks of high intensity, you know exactly what you are going to need to do. And Alex Hormozy actually talked about that. Is instead of asking someone to get something done in 1 week, ask them to do it today. And that's kind of how I believe you can manage over time. Here, for instance, you say, okay, you on the deload week, you have the full week to do that. Don't say don't worry, but you have the full week to do that. That's okay. Here, moderate intensity, well, okay, if you can get it done by the midweek, that will be great. That way, the end of the week, you can do something else. Here, this is pretty much every 2 days you need to get something done, or almost every day. And here you can even go higher. It's every half day. Every half day we are getting something done, and in the morning we are getting something done. In the afternoon we are getting something done, and boom, boom. There is really no limit at which point you can go. This is more an issue of management, getting people on board with that kind of level of intensity, and also yourself, can you sustain it? But what you will learn as a professional athlete, because I'm using those kind of principles to train, what you will find is over time your system will adapt. It will understand that on those deload weeks you should chill and recover, and that's okay. You don't have to stress about it. And then on those you will have no guilt, no anxiety to actually go all in, because this is the issue when you're trying to sustain a high level of performance over a very long period of time. Your subconscious knows that this is not sustainable, and so it's kind of pulling you down as much as possible to prevent you from burning out. Where here with this system, what actually happens is because your subconscious knows that there will be a break at the end, it allows you to actually give everything you got. So that's kind of the beauty of this system. So I hope it helped and it's interesting to you. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.